Professor, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
You wrote a very influential book, Bowling Alone, a few decades ago, which sort of chronicled the demise of the American community.
Right.
To catch us up, what essentially is the thesis of that book, and why is it still resonant today?
Well, the story basically is that this book was published now 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Over the preceding 25 or 30 years before that, in other words, about a half century ago, Americans who had historically been connected with one another, that's what this French philosopher Tocqueville said, we were the most connected nation in the world, that began to change. And we started knowing our neighbors less well. We started knowing our families less well. We began to slacken our involvement in community affairs, politics, but not just politics. We started going to we bowled as much as ever before. Bowling alone, but you maybe not know this. Bowling is big in America. You know that more Americans bowl than vote in America, so
Is that right? And bowling, that's the one where you throw the ball in the air and you hit it with a racket? Is that the one? Is that what it is?
Right. Well,
but you notice that people are still bowling, but the trend was starting that they weren't bowling in groups anymore.
That's right.
They were bowling essentially alone.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the story of the book. Declining all these measures of the degree to which we were connected with one another, or even trusted one another, going down, down, down. And then the book went on to say, why is that? And I would change my views a little bit about what caused it.
Is it just because people got worse and they suck a little bit more, so we don't want to we don't want to hang out with people anymore?
You want to see the pie chart in the book that shows percentages? I
love me a good pie chart. Yeah, show me. Yeah, I love that. Oh yeah, I got a pie chart for you. You want to see this pie chart in this book?
Please.
Pretty nice. So why is it?
Well, it's a lot of different things. Partly people spending more time commuting and less time for hanging out with friends. I thought then, am I allowed to say this on this show?
Let's see. Let's hear what it is.
The television was most of the. No, it turns out that's not true. But I mean, I did think
television was part of the problem.
Yeah, we were.
Oh no, it's done only wonderful things for our community. We elected a person who became fake famous on television. It's warped everybody's mind. We're doing it right now. You're currently warping people's mind right now. There are people who, instead of spending time with their family, were like, I'm going to watch Robert Putnam alone on television.
Well, instead of having Friends, we started watching Friends. That's the basic picture. You may not remember there was a program called...
Oh, I know. That was the one with George Wendt. They all hung out at a bar. I know everything about culture, yes.
Well, in any event, that was... And the worst of it is I thought this might continue. Of course, I was writing the book because I wanted people to not keep going down this trend.
Yeah.
And you know what happened?
We continued to bowl alone.
It's gotten worse.
Yes.
In every way.
Well, it does feel like we are disconnected from communities. I think... people are talking about this election.
Yeah.
I want to get your take on what you saw. People like Steve Bannon was talking about how influential this book was. Yeah. Even AOC just yesterday was talking about how we need to form these communities. People are still talking about your book and what resonates there. Do you see what happened in this last election as connected to the trends that you saw?
Yeah. So Steve Bannon is Trump's guru.
Yeah.
And
Taylor, I think, too.
Yeah.
He's definitely part of his
so
fashion icon.
I'm the guru's guru. Is that the way I hate that idea, but that's true. What I said then was that America was becoming steadily more fragmented, more isolated, less connected with less trusting of people around us. And that was true. And Bannon advised Trump that was their path to victory, was to look for those people who were just completely isolated, fragmented, and didn't have any connections, and they were going to give them some real connections. And actually, the data show, I believe in data, the data show they were right. That is to say, the more socially isolated you were, the more likely you were to vote for Trump.
Well, I know there's a famous quote that says, like, dictators prey on loneliness.
Yeah.
And essentially plays off of that idea.
That's right.
I mean, do you see... I mean, when I hear this the ideas behind Bowling Alone and by the documentary that is out right now, it points to what is good about joining communities. I mean, I've always felt that when I'm a part of groups. I don't know if the answer to save our democracy is me joining yet another improv team. I don't know if that helps. I don't know if that saves everything. But I also see, I go into the Trump world a lot. I go to MAGA events, and I see in these groups, I see connection, but I also see like a lack of accountability for people.
Yeah.
We talk about how cruelty can fester in these. Like, I hear this question in this that is posed in this film, which is like, you need to join a group to save American democracy.
Yeah.
But what do you say to people who are like, well, the Oath Keepers are letting people in? Like, how do you find the right group, or how is this a time that's reflective of people finding the wrong groups, or people feeling alone and therefore being manipulated by others who want to utilize that for untoward means?
It's a little bit of all of that. Can I use some jargon on this show?
I love jargon. This show is so pro-jargon. Oh, we love pie charts and jargon on this show. The kids, they
My
love
people.
Throw it out. Come on, Professor, give me some.
Well, the distinction is between bridging social capital and bonding social capital. So, bridging social capital are my ties to other people just like me. So my ties to other white, male, elderly, Jewish professors. That's my bonding social capital. We're all bonded together because we're all similar.
Yeah.
And bridging social capital are my ties to people who are different from me, like my ties to, I don't know, to people of a different race or a different gender or a different age or whatever. I'm not saying bridging good, bonding bad, because if you get sick, the people who bring you chicken soup will be your bonding social capital. But I am saying that a society like ours, which is very diverse, needs a lot of bridging social capital. With me so far? I mean, so bridging good, bonding bad.
You don't have to dumb it down that much, okay?
But here, wait a minute. It's also the case that bridging social capital is harder than bonding social capital. My grandmother actually knew that. She said, Bobby, birds of a feather flock together. She meant, Bobby, bonding social capital is easier to build than bridging social capital. She didn't think I'd understand what I meant, which is why she used the avian metaphor. Sure. But, okay, so we're stuck down in a situation in which the kind of connections we need are hard to build. And the kinds of connections, you could say sort of substitute connections, that is the bonding social capital, that's what the Proud Boys are. Is that, I'm trying to answer your question.
You did it. You used jargon and you used a nice little anecdote about the birds. I understand. The bridging capital is going to be more difficult.
Yeah.
Where are examples where that is successful? I think right now you have a lot of people here who feel perhaps lost, disconnected from culture and or society and or their neighbors. Like, what are examples that you're seeing of bridging this divide and finding that capital?
Well, first of all, can I say there is a documentary movie that was the occasion for our getting together and talk, and they have a lot of, in the movie...
You're talking about your movie, the movie that you're in that follows you.
Yeah,
you don't have to be coy about it. This medium is all about being blunt. Just say it like, watch my movie, kids.
What I meant was the people who produced the movie, Pete and Rebecca Davis, highlight groups that any of us could form right now, new kinds of groups, not the old-fashioned Rotary clubs or whatever, new kinds of groups, but they're bridging, and they're not about politics. Can I emphasize that? We don't want to begin, this is what AOC said, we don't want to begin now by having if we're trying to move the country back in a better direction, we shouldn't begin thinking we've got to start with the politics. We've got to start with just knowing our neighbors. She meant to say bowling leagues, she didn't. What she said was knitting leagues, okay. But so...
Are you mad she didn't reference your book? Is that what you're saying right here?
No, because authors don't care whether we become famous. We just want to be sure we get the facts right.
That's not been the case as far as I've seen it. But that's...
Okay, so back. What do we do now? We have to begin local. We have to begin with kids, because that's the next generation. We have to begin not necessarily with politics. And you asked me about how do we bridge. Can I just use a personal example? I live up in a little neighborhood out in the sticks in New Hampshire. Mm-hmm. We have a little neighborhood association. That's my one group.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of things in common. We all have to worry about the snow, and I want to make sure that someone's going to help me. I'm getting a little old, so I need to help somebody else shovel me out when it gets bad.
Yeah.
And we were having a neighborhood association meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I discovered that one of these people was a Trump supporter. Now hold on, okay. I know you know that I'm making a subtle point here. So here's the theoretical point. When you want to bridge, look for something that bonds across that, right? So what bonds me and this guy are who's going to shovel out, and are we going to help one another shovel? And can we get the snow plow to actually come?
Yeah.
That's what bonding. But just for a moment, I was enabled to put myself in his shoes and him in my shoes, because we were bonded by all these other things, but bridging the political divide. Maybe that's a little too personal as a story, but it's a story that illustrates that's how you do it. You don't try to force yourself to make friends with people who you think are evil. You make encounters with other people who you know are decent people. He actually would come over and shovel my sidewalks, but he turns out also to be a Trump supporter. I don't know if that makes sense or not. Probably not.
I believe it. I feel like as somebody who can do very little physical labor, I'm constantly looking for other people to do it for me.
Yeah, me too.
And if I were to bet the people who own snow plows and that type of equipment, it doesn't necessarily happen on the blue side of the aisle. So make some friends, because you're going to need some help down the line.
And I just want to go back a little bit to the big picture, because I don't do current events. I want to give a historical framework. And
how far back are we going?
Well, before you were born, 50 years ago.
Bob, this is, tick-tock, buddy, tick-tock. Take me there.
I'll be quick. Over the last 50 years, we have become, 50 years, not over the last 5 or 10 years, we've become steadily more polarized, steadily more unequal, steadily more disconnected, that's the bowling alone part, steadily more narcissistic. 50 years. Trump did not cause that. Trump was the consequence of that. And if Trump goes away, we're still going to have that problem that we don't know our neighbors and don't trust our friends, don't have friends. And moreover, it's class biased, by which I mean people who are college educated, people like you and me, and maybe the audience, we have a lot of friends still. But the 2/3 of Americans who are not college educated, they are very likely to have no friends at all. Now, that is a time bomb. And I talked about it already 10, 15, 20 years ago. I've not yet had success, but I'm hoping that tonight will be the beginning of my success.
Tonight is the night. America, get your friends, pull them together, sit in front of the television, and watch the film and understand we can do this together. Because, dear Lord, who else is going to move the snow off of our driveway? Join or Die is available now on Netflix. Robert Putnam.